Look, I mean, this is a massive diplomatic coup for the Russians. I mean, Vladimir Putin, hasn't had a visit like this since his invasion of Ukraine more than a year ago. And, it was also a show of support from China, that Xi Jinping came just a few days after Putin had been indicted by the International Criminal Court in The Hague for war crimes. And so the Russians made a big thing out of this, obviously, rolled out the red carpet literally and put on all the pomp and circumstance that you'd expect from an important state visit like this. There were, lots of exchanges of, kind of commitments to be closer friends, to bring the countries closer together. They signed a bunch of deals to build bridges and to build pipelines and to sort of physically connect the two countries even more. And so this is really part of an ongoing effort by Russia and China to become much closer sort of economic partners and political partners as well in the years ahead. What we didn't see is any commitment, publicly at least, from China to provide Russia with weapons, which may have really turned the tide on the battlefield.
Well, that's interesting because it's very easy to see what Russia wants from China. It's harder to see what China gets from Russia. I mean, I know China needs to build its alliances away from the West. What can Russia give China that China needs and can't get elsewhere?
It's not difficult at all. Russia is the world's biggest energy producer. Yeah. It's got massive reserves of oil and gas and timber and minerals, and it's a massive natural resource economy. China needs those resources, and it can get them at a discount price, by the way, because Putin can't sell them anywhere else. Yeah. And it needs them to expand its economy. And so this is really a convenient situation for Xi Jinping, because he is able. Let me just turn my phone off. He is able to get those resources at a cheap price to further expand the Chinese economy. It's important, an economic lifeline as well for Putin. He's been cut off from international markets essentially. China is an economic lifeline. He can't really sell his the material Russia produces to many other countries, and so it's mutually beneficial in that sense.
In that instance, just finally, Matthew, in that sense, is it not in Xi's interest for the war in Ukraine to end? Because the Moscow has to turn to China to tell these things, as you've just said. There is a lot of talk about China brokering a peace deal. It has brokered other deals with other countries in the past. Is it in China's interest to be very active in that area?
Well, China has been very active diplomatically recently. You're right. It brokered a deal to bring Saudi Arabia and Iran together a couple of weeks ago, which was sort of unthinkable, a year back. And so it's on a diplomatic high at the moment. And it has launched a peace plan for Ukraine as well, 12 points, basically to bring the two sides together, Russia and Ukraine, to have peace talks. But it stopped short of, calling on Russia to withdraw from the territory it's already conquered, which is a key Ukrainian demand. And so that peace plan has been met with a very lukewarm response in Ukraine and by the rest of the Western alliance as well. But nevertheless, China is talking the talk. It's saying it wants to bring peace to this region, so it's trying to step up to play this diplomatic role. I think there's a bit of suspicion in foreign policy circles about whether China really does want to bring the warring parties together, because while the West is distracted with Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the West, in particular the United States, is less focused on what China is doing in the Far East. And so, perhaps it plays into China's hands on a number of levels that this conflict continues.